and welcome here to TalkFCB, and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where of course we have plenty more to talk about regarding our brand new signing, Marcus Rashford. It is all coming up in today's video, but along with that, we got really important updates too on the Spotify Camp Nou. That is not looking good, and we also have an update on Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, which is also really crucial, because that may well have a knock-on effect on Rashford himself. So all of that is on the way. Get ready, and let's do it. Because let's first of all begin then by talking about the Camp Nou. Because obviously, recently, things have not been looking good. There have been a lot of concerning reports that I've kind of been waiting to talk about. So let's just go over here what on earth the update is. Because do not forget, let me just say this first of all, guys. Don't forget, we were originally told by the club that we would return to the Spotify Camp Nou in December of 2024. Okay, that didn't happen. Then it was February of 2025. And guys, honestly, even now, looking back, who on earth believed that those dates are possible? That they could ever happen? And that is why we fast forward now to this summer, and we're all thinking, okay, finally now, we've left Montjuic behind. We are going to be heading back to our stadium, our shiny new stadium. We're all so excited. And so much so then, the club officially announce the return. They say, okay, the Gamper match on August the 10th, that is when we will be back. It was a big return video, big announcement, lots of hype. Joan Laporta as well, he was at the centre of it. You know, he was the face of that whole return, touching all the speakers inside the stadium. And now, well, that announcement video, that's been deleted from social media. Unfortunately for the club, I think a few people might have seen it. I think a lot of people probably did see it in the time that passed, because now we are not returning to the Spotify Camp Nou in time for the Gamper match. The City Council did not approve the licences that are required to host a game, and that is down to the work not being as far along as the club believed or hoped for at this point. But here's the problem, guys. Because that's not all. You know, that's not the only concern that we have about the new stadium, because already now in the media we're hearing it's a race against time for the new season to be ready there for the start of the brand new campaign. Now, our first league game at home, it's not until the start of September. Barca specifically asked for the first 3 league games to be played away to give us more time. But even now, are we going to make that? Is everything going to be ready? Is everything going to be up to speed and approved, ready to play on that day? And I tell you what, what's even more of a concern is the Champions League. Because if the stadium, for instance, is not ready by the first game of the league phase on the 17th of September, and then we had to play it, for example, at Montjuic for that game, the rule is you have to play all league phase games at the same stadium. That means that there, if we're not ready for that first game, if we are not back at the Spotify Camp Nou for the first Champions League game, we've got to play the entirety of that league phase. And remember, that runs right up until January away from the Camp Nou. And that is why we are already hearing in the media Barca could return to Montjuic for the first stage of the season. And guys, honestly right now, hand on heart, for instance, if we started the season at Montjuic, what are the chances of the club saying, oh, it's just going to be the first bit, it's just going to be the first phase, then we get to midway through the season, oh, we're just going to spend half the season here, and then we're just going to end up spending the whole season there. That looks to me like something that is genuinely could happen if the stadium is not ready. And look, I understand delays can happen, especially on projects of this size, but I think all that we're asking for is clear, honest communication from the club. You know, stop trying to rush things. Stop trying to rush the announcements there, making promises that you can't keep, because that's the damaging bit. It's not so much the delays, it's not so much the playing away from the Camp Nou. Financially, that hurts, but in terms of us fans, it's about trust. It's about believing what the clubs say, being able to count upon the deadline and the dates that they give us. And what I would also say right now, guys, is that we previously heard a lot about how Barca had actually agreed a brilliant deal with Limak, the Turkish construction company that are in charge of this whole build, that it was such a watertight contract there, and that Barca would actually enforce course, a fine for every day that they were late in terms of our return to the stadium. Now, there have been rumours here and there about that, but I've got to say, we have heard nothing at all that is concrete right now. And that wasn't even supposed to be a pun. But okay, guys, leaving the concerns or the worries about the stadium to just one side for a moment, let's talk here about Marc-Andre Ter Stegen, because big news coming out on him over the past 24 hours. He will not be part of the pre-season tour. He will not travel with the rest of the team for the Tour of Asia, and that is a decision that has been made within the club. He's very much separated now, isn't he, from the group in pretty much every single way, and what we're hearing right now is that Ter Stegen is still contemplating whether to undergo back surgery, which, as we know, if he was to undergo that surgery, he would be sidelined for at least 4 months of action. And again, guys, I just find this all so strange in terms of the timing here. It's the beginning of a new season. You just had weeks, you just had over a month off there since the end of the campaign. And now we're going to decide to undergo that surgery. And also, don't forget, it's a World Cup year. But even now, there's no hurry. There's absolutely no urgency, it seems, to decide on whether to undergo that surgery. Usually people, in situations where there's an injury, there's something wrong, you get the surgery straight away. As quickly as you can possibly do it, you go and do that. But it just seems right now, it's almost a case of, well, we'll just see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I won't. As time goes on, maybe we'll get a decision. I don't know. But I just think right now, we need some sort of answer. Because obviously, if Ter Stegen does get that surgery, then Barca won't need to register him in the current season. And that means then we can use 80% of his wages, which are quite a considerable amount. And that would be used there, apparently, to register Joan Garcia in his place. But obviously, guys, in the short term, it's like, oh, it's great. We don't have to register Ter Stegen. If he undergoes that surgery, then we can just use his wages to get other people registered. But my concern would be, okay, that's all well and good in the short term, but what happens in January? If you register players on Ter Stegen's wages when he's out injured, but then again, he's going to come back. We saw it with Christensen and Dani Olmo. That was a disaster situation. What's going to happen then come the January transfer window? And there's people who will say in the media, oh, don't worry, Ter Stegen, he'll leave in January. He'll want to play football then. Why? Honestly, at this point, I have seen nothing from him that suggests he does want to play. It doesn't seem as though he's actually that interested in the World Cup here. He's thinking about undergoing major surgery in a World Cup year. There's no guarantee he would leave the club in January. Now, let me just say again, Barca, that would be the best option. They need him to leave, not in January, they need him to leave now. That would be much better for the club. That would actually leave room to register multiple players. We're not just talking about Joan Garcia. If Ter Stegen left the club, Rashford would be easily registered. But that is looking unlikely now. It's looking like either Ter Stegen will undergo surgery or he won't. He'll delay it, maybe delay it. But I just think ultimately here, it looks extremely unlikely at this point in time that he would even think about departing in this summer transfer window. But indeed, guys, let's move on to the brand new signing at Barca. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford, ladies and gentlemen. I've got to say, there is a lot of excitement, even in the video that I made yesterday, so many excitable comments there about what Rashford could bring to the club. I think people are really looking forward to seeing what Hansi Flick can do with him. That's one of the most interesting things for me here, thinking about the two of them together, thinking about so many players at Barca that Flick has improved. Players do improve under him. He gets a lot more out of them than maybe we've seen in previous coaches or previous clubs. It's exciting to think about what he may extract from a talent, and there is a lot of talent there in Marcus Rashford. Now, what we do have to talk about, though, here are the wages, because originally, right throughout the media there, it was reported that Rashford had accepted a salary of 10 million gross and around 5 million euros there net in total there in terms of his wages, including bonuses. Now, what we heard yesterday, though, from Fabrizio Romano, that paints a bit of a different picture, because he says Rashford's wages will actually be 14 million gross, plus bonuses there that would equate to around 7 million euros or so in net salary. Now, personally, I have been waiting for some information maybe from David Ornstein. You know, we can't forget that he was the one who broke this story here, that Barca were finalising the deal. So I'm not sure here that the media are completely certain at this point on the wages. But say, let's go with that 14 million figure, gross salary. Now, in my opinion, that is a lot of money. That is clearly a lot of money there for Rashford to be earning, and it would put him among some of the higher earners at Barca right now. But I just want to mention here, there are a few things to consider before we talk more about that. Number one, it's just the 1 year loan. You know, it's not as though here we've agreed a bumper deal with Rashford to pay him this kind of money for 5 years. You know, it's nothing too extraordinary. It is still one solitary year, a one-off that we've agreed to pay. Now, we also have to take into account, guys, there is no loan fee for Marcus Rashford. A lot of times there, when you loan out players, usually the selling club, they do demand some sort of concrete figure, something there with bonuses wrapped up in it as well, and that could be several million as well down the drain there, but we've saved on that. We also have no obligation to buy. The buy option itself, the option that we have, could be a very respectable amount too from what we're hearing, so there are positives here that we've managed to negotiate on this deal. However, even with all of that said, I will put my hands up and say we probably could have negotiated better. Now, does that even surprise you? We are talking about Barca, we are talking about Deco's department here. Could they have gotten a better deal? In my opinion, they still could have in terms of the wages. You've got a club there in United who were desperate to get rid of Rashford. They wanted those wages off their wage bill, and they've made their stance so clear publicly about that. And then you've got Rashford himself, guys. He only wanted Barca. He couldn't have made it more clear. This is the only place he wanted to come. He was so desperate to sign here. And all of these things should work in your favour. They should have really given us such a strong hand in negotiations. And I think in the end, like I say, we still could have done better on the wages. But can I just stress, guys, with all of that said, if Rashford helps Barca in crucial moments of the season, if he helps us to rotate and maintain our quality, if he can chip in with regular goals, if he can give Hansi Flick an option that he didn't have last season, well, it doesn't matter. None of this will matter. These wages will still look like a bargain. So it's all about the performance here. We can talk a lot about numbers, we can talk here about wages. At the end of the day, it's still not money that breaks the bank for the club. We are not talking here about 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 million euros. It's 14 million gross, it's 7 million net. Reportedly, now it's up to Rashford to show what he can do to justify those kinds of wages, and he's going to do that out on the field. Now, the latest update on the deal itself, guys, is that last night Rashford did fly into Barcelona. That medical now will take place at the club today. And apparently Rashford actually met Hansi Flick this morning at the Ciutat Esportiva there. The two of them exchanging some words, apparently. And it's really good to see him nice and early here, really, arriving at the club. Because what that means, and the really important thing in my opinion, he will be ready for Thursday, because Marcus Rashford will join up with the rest of the team for the pre-season tour of Asia, and I think it's vital to get him on that trip there, because it's such an important thing to be part of that pre-season tour, you know, getting to know your teammates, getting to understand your surroundings, your environment, and basically the feeling of playing matches in a Barcelona shirt as part of this squad. And ultimately, guys, what's really important here with signing Rashford, getting him in now, he has more time on the training field with Hansi Flick. That is the exciting thing, like I say. We can talk about wages, we can talk about different things that happened with Rashford at Man United, but I don't care about any of that now. All that I care about is what Flick can do with Rashford. He wanted him, he pushed for him, he's happy to get him now at the club, and I think he's going to use him. I do think he's going to get the best out of him there. He's going to help him to tap into the potential that we know Rashford has, and ultimately Flick is going to get him working hard. Flick is going to get that fire burning in Rashford again. It hasn't been there for too long now. He is back. He's got an exciting challenge ahead of him. It's in a place that he wants to be. And I am still very excited about this signing. It's still an opportunity that we've taken on. It's still relatively low risk, in my opinion. And let's make sure now we make the most of it. So those there, guys, are my thoughts right now on the incoming signing of Marcus Rashford. Like I say, I would like to know your thoughts. How are you feeling about him? How do you feel about those wages that are being reported? Are they a little bit on the high side? Could we have done better in terms of those negotiations? But overall, what do you feel now about this signing? Rashford on loan with that option to buy. Please do let me know, guys. All of those comments down below. I will see you soon, where there will be plenty more on the way. But thank you indeed for watching, for all of you tuning in. But until next time, as always, Vesca, El Barça.